Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Cricket World Cup show here at the Racing Post. It's been a really busy week and there's been plenty of key action over the last few days, and here to help us digest it and see what is really going to happen in the events in the next week or two, I'm joined by my Racing Post colleagues Liam Flynn, James Milton and Simon Clare from Coral. Hello gentlemen. Well, it's been an exciting time then, Liam. Perhaps you can sort of fill the folks in about all the monumentous events of the last few days.
Yeah, well, obviously the biggest talking point would be Australia's defeat of England, which many believe has hampered England's chances of qualifying for the semi-finals. I thought it was really a game of just tremendous individual displays. I mean, Australia team is just a completely different makeup to the one which England rolled over last year. I mean, Finch and Warner scoring their first wicket ton. Stark wasn't top wicket taker in the game, but arguably for me the pick of the bowlers. I think he was. I mean, his in-swinging Yorker to dislodge Ben Stokes, probably the ball of the tournament for me. I think England still have the edge in terms of depth, looking at their squad, but their key players really need to step up now if they're going to match the level of the likes of Stark and Warner and Finch that we've seen from them in this tournament. So, yeah, it is concerning, of course. I mean, Pakistan play Afghanistan, which you'd expect them to win before a big clash with Bangladesh. If Pakistan win both of those games, or on the reverse, if Bangladesh win both of theirs, then England will need to beat both India and New Zealand to make the top four. So there's a lot of pressure on these upcoming games. I think England can possibly get through with one win, but it's obviously a very dangerous mentality to look at it like that. I would just say, I mean, if you did back England at 2-1 at the start of the tournament, maybe shouldn't shy away too quickly from backing them at 9-2 now, on the basis that it is still in their control. And if it does get into those knockout phases, then it is a lottery from that point onwards. I don't think you can judge it too much on the group stage form.
Simon, it seemed like cricket was coming home about 10 days ago. I mean, and I would imagine that the odds do not reflect that now. Can you just give us a quick rundown on the outright?
You know, it's interesting. Liam almost being vaguely positive there. I must admit, I started the tournament feeling very positive about England's chances, looking at their one-day form, their ranking, the players, both bowlers and batsmen. But it's a real concern the way they just mentally just don't seem to have dealt with the toughest of challenges during this World Cup when it's really mattered. And we kept the faith in betting terms. I mean, they're still only 9-2, despite the fact they're effectively a toss of a coin where they're even going to be in the last four, which is interesting, isn't it? I mean, you're right, it's in their control, and the players themselves are talking possibly about, well, if we win the next four games, we've won the World Cup. And of course, that's true, but it's more the form coming into it. You're thinking, would you back them to win the next four games? And it's 15 to Australia. They're the big mover, really, and I think, we wouldn't say a surprise package, but from where they sort of come from, that the way Warner and Finch have opened the batting, I think it was brilliant. I thought that won them the game the other day when they were put in under tough conditions, and they really showed the mental strength that we associate with Australian sportsmen generally, let alone the cricket team. It's 15 to India, very solid, aren't they? And they've obviously got a massive game against England on Sunday. 9-2 England, and then 6-1 New Zealand and 8-1 Pakistan. And really, it's all about England. They are 4-5 to be knocked out in the group stage, 10-11 to qualify for the last four, and that is the big question on most England cricket fans' lips. Can they get to the last four? I think if they can, suddenly you can relax. But the fact they would have probably won two games meant they'll suddenly be in the form that you could see them winning the tournament. But, frustrating.
Yeah. James, Simon's touched upon the mental issues that perhaps England have. They've lost three. They've won just one of the four occasions where they haven't batted first. Do you think that's playing on their mind a bit? Do you think they're struggling with the mental demands of chasing a target?
I think it has to be a concern, mainly because the contrast with how they've been chasing targets since the last World Cup is so stark. I mean, they've been absolutely nailing some huge run chases. I think they'd won kind of 19 or 20 in a row at home, batting second. And they just looked absolutely nerveless, even in that Pakistan series. They were chasing down kind of 350, 360 with overs to spare. So when you see them suddenly, I mean, that turning point was the Sri Lanka game, where Sri Lanka started out as 8-1 shots. England were 1-50 at the start of their run chase, chasing kind of 230. And you just couldn't see them slipping up, and suddenly they lose that game, and then they're into the final three games, which was Australia, India, and New Zealand. The other three looking like they're going to be in the semi-finals, and then obviously the performance against Australia was very, very disappointing. I mean, Ben Stokes kind of held it together until that brilliant delivery from start that Liam mentioned. But once again, you just saw England, the kind of instinct that they've shown in these run chases. Suddenly, when the pitch isn't quite so flat, when they are faced by a quality bowling attack,
and they're playing in competitive games.
Precisely, yeah, and so there is, there's added pressure there, and the concern is that if they can't chase down 230 against Sri Lanka, what are they going to do now in these when there's even more pressure on them against two very good bowling attacks in India and New Zealand?
Flinny, give us something positive.
About England?
Yes.
Just about life in general.
Well, or both.
I mean,
already the most positive.
I suppose you can look at it as that England haven't had Jason Roy in that team, and when Vince has struggled, he hasn't really shown what he is capable of, and maybe having opened with him, maybe it would have been a better idea to start putting Joe Root into open, I don't know, but I think if he's in half fit, you play him against India just because England need that boost at the top of the order, and it's been a tremendous amount of pressure on Johnny Bairstow to kind of hold those opening two together with Vince alongside him. So I think, if you're looking for a positive, well, Jason Roy could be back soon, and that could change England's chances.
Clutch.
It's going to be an amazing day Sunday. I mean, that Indian crowd has been spectacular, as have the Pakistan crowd, and the atmosphere at Edgbaston is going to be amazing. If you ever wanted a bigger mental test, you'd struggle to find one. So, but it is an opportunity for, as you say, Root has actually been playing very well. Ben Stokes has been looking terrific. Roy, if he comes back in, Bairstow hasn't really performed, but he had some form coming into. They've got the players. They still haven't they? The bowling, Archer, Wood. But they've got to do it now, haven't they? And so they know what they've got to do. But England fans won't be sitting confident, will they? They'll be sitting hopeful.
I mean, we'll talk about the game in more detail a little later on there. James, what else has grabbed you over the last 2 or 3 days?
I mean, we are going to preview this India game, but just another ruthless display from India's bowlers against the West Indies. You look at India, and for so many years you associate them with brilliant batting, and obviously they've still got Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. But they've had a few middle order wobbles, but their bowlers just get them out of trouble time after time after time, and. There's just, I think that when you're looking at the really great one-day sides, there's no drop-off in threat. Once the new balls, once the new ball bowlers have finished their spells, then suddenly India are back in and the spinners come in, and there's just no respite for teams. And if they are chipping away, taking wickets, it's just so difficult for new batsmen coming in to kind of keep up with the run rate. And India have been terrific defending some fairly modest totals, against Afghanistan as well in that thriller. Their batting, really struggled, but their bowlers they never seem to panic, and they know they can rely on guys like Bumrah and Shami in recent games, and then the spinners keeping things really, really tight in the middle overs. Yeah,
Liam, 15-8 Australia, 15-8 India. Which one would you rather have?
Definitely India. I think as an all-round unit, I mean their bowling, as James said, they've been defending pretty small totals in fairness, but I just don't think they've really kicked into gear yet, and they've still been getting results. And just as an all-round team, I think their bowling variation is just leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the tournament. I mean, one thing that stood out to me also is sort of New Zealand's performances of late. I mean, I've probably they're one of my favourite teams to have watched at this tournament, but they should be confident of making the semi-finals. But I think the hopes of winning, topping that group stage, has really been dashed now. And there's some slight concerns going into the knockout phases of Guptill and Munro. I think they've just been abysmal really since the opener. I mean, they scored 5 and 12 respectively against Pakistan. I think there's only so much longer that the likes of Kane Williamson and that middle order can bail them out. So. That's something that they've really got to think about, and I don't know whether Nichols might come in. I don't know how many changes we can expect to that New Zealand team, and they might not want to unsettle a team which has generally been winning games, but certainly something to look at going into the semi-finals.
And Simon, you'll be desperate for England to get into the semis.
I mean, it's been a frustrating tournament because of the weather, really. It's interrupting some of the games.
Well, at least we're not got to worry about that this week.
That's what I was about to say. So we've now got this clear run of lovely weather, and what you desperately want is England to sort of win their last couple of games, get into that knockout stage, and then we'll be set for a terrific finale, because we all expect them to be the knockouts, and half of us sort of expect them to be in the final. But even if they don't, I think this has been when the weather's been fair to us. We've seen some great teams. I mean, Pakistan I thought were brilliant against New Zealand the other day. Babar Azam, a fantastic batsman to watch. The Sri Lankans when they up their game, when the West Indies perform, they've all had moments, when they've delivered, and certainly India and Australia have been fantastic throughout the tournament. So so it won't be completely desolate if England don't make the last four, but realistically we want them there.
Okay, well, we've got 4 games to get through, and we've just mentioned Pakistan, and they're the first one we're going to look at on Saturday, where they play Afghanistan at Headingley. What prices have you got for this one, Simon?
Well, long odds on. I think if England fans are clinging on to the hopes of Afghanistan causing a shot, they're 9-2. It's 7-1 on Pakistan. Although you do the old cliche, you never quite know which Pakistan's going to turn up, but they've looked pretty decent overall over the tournament. Babar Azam is the 11-4 favourite to be the top run scorer for Pakistan, and Mohammed Amri is the 5-2 favourite to be the top wicket taker for Pakistan.
James, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pakistan, since that horror show in the opening game against the West Indies when they were all out for 105, they've been pretty solid. I mean, lost to Australia and India, but that was to be expected, and beat England and now have beaten South Africa and New Zealand in their last 2 games. So England certainly can't complain if they are pipped by Pakistan, because I think Pakistan will have merited it if they come through these last 2 games, Afghanistan and Bangladesh, which they couldn't have asked for a much better finale, really. Bangladesh are a decent side, but Pakistan will be favourites there as well. I just think they're, we mentioned Babar Azam, he played a fantastic innings last time out, but their bowling's really impressed me in the last couple of games. And Mohammed Amir, it's amazing to think there were quite a lot of head scratching over whether he'd actually make the final squad. But he's been absolutely terrific in this tournament. He's taken 16 wickets in 6 games, and I like the look of one of Coral's specials, 2-1 for him to take 3 or more wickets. Just think against an Afghan batting lineup that is clearly the weakest in the competition. Amir's taken 5 against Australia, 3 against India. He took 2 against South Africa, should have had more, dropped a really easy caught and bowled chance. And I just think he could be too hot to handle for the Afghans.
James, Afghanistan, they gave India a bit of a run for their money, but apart from that, they've been outclassed pretty much, haven't they? Do you give them any hope doing England a favour?
No, I don't. I think Pakistan should win this. The big one will be the Pakistan-Bangladesh game, and I'm actually on the same wavelength as James, really. I think I'm going to look at sort of Mohammed Amir, top Pakistan wicket taker. Like you say, 16 wickets in the tournament. He wasn't the most economical against New Zealand, but set the tone by removing Guptill after 5 balls. And I think they've got quite a good combination opening with him and Mohammed Hafiz now, spinner that looks like quite a dangerous attack. And then, as you said, Afghanistan's top order has not been exactly settled. I mean, they've had 5 different players, Gulbuddin, Hasratullah, Shah, Noor Ali and Shahzad open the batting in this tournament. And I think they're against a new ball, Mohammed Amir, they could struggle. And Headingley's been quite a good venue for seamers like Amir. So, I think he looks quite good value to be Pakistan's top wicket taker.
Great. Okay, we'll take a quick break then, and then we'll look at the next 2 games of the later game on Saturday of New Zealand against Australia at Lords, and then the big one for everybody, India against England on Sunday at Edgbaston.
Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.
Hello and welcome back to the Cricket World Cup show. I'm Ian Wilkerson, and I'm joined by my Racing Post colleagues Liam Flynn and James Milton, and from Coral, Simon Clare. And now we've got 2 cracking games to look forward to in the second part of the show. First of all, New Zealand against England's conquerors Australia at Lords at 1:30 on Saturday. On paper it looks like a decent game. Simon, what are the prices for this?
Yeah, I mean, reasonably close. Australia are the odds-on favourites at 2-1 on. It's 13-8 New Zealand. And no surprise there, Warner, Finch and Smith all very close in the betting for top bat. 11-4 Warner, just favourite ahead of 3-1 Finch, 3-1 Smith. Williamson, 9-4 favourite to be the top run scorer for the New Zealand team. And on the bowling front, Ferguson and Bolt joint favourites to be the top wicket takers at 11-4, and Stark and Cummins at 9-4 respectively for Australia. One price I thought I'd chuck out there, the openers have been batting brilliantly, 9-4, an Australian opening partnership of 100 runs or more. I thought 9-4 wasn't the worst price in the world.
What do you think's going to happen?
I think Australia will prove too strong for New Zealand. I think it's a great clash. I mean, there's a lot of heat and history on this particular fixture. I just thought New Zealand against Pakistan were a bit disappointing. I didn't think they bowled very well in that second innings. And I just think Australia, have just got stronger and stronger the tournament gone on. I mean, they're full of confidence. The opening batsman, Finch, was brilliant against England. You've got Smith, you've got Maxwell, who can be destructive, and their bowling's so strong. I think 2-1 on, okay, tipping odds on favourite. I think they'll win, though.
Yeah. Liam, I know that you've been very keen on the Kiwis in this tournament, but Simon's alluded to the fact that Australia seem to be gaining momentum over the course of play, whereas the boys you've supported, they got off to a really good start and it's taken off a little bit.
Yeah, it's not been the most convincing. I mean, the Bangladesh game, first of all, I mean, that was very tight, and their last 2 games before they lost to Pakistan, they were also could have really gone either way, sort of coming down to the wire. And I think Australia at Lords should just generally have too much. The bet I like the look of in this one would be, as we said, Steve Smith actually is top Australia run scorer. I recognise David Warner's probably been their outstanding batsman at this tournament, 500 runs, and Aaron Finch has obviously been excellent too with some terrific performances. But England's new ball bowlers didn't really make the most of the pitch at Lords. I think they were sort of pitching it too short against the Aussies. And you look at comparing them to New Zealand's pacemen, likes of Bolt and Ferguson, they do tend to pitch their deliveries a bit fuller, and I think they could get a little bit more out of that pitch, and for that reason I wouldn't be surprised to see them get an early wicket. So I think when you can see Steve Smith coming up, hopefully Australia should see sense and stick him in at 3 this time, and if they do, then I mean he scored 38 off 34 balls against England at Lords, and then obviously added that to 73 against Sri Lanka, 69 versus India and 73 against the West Indies, so I think that looks like a good bet.
James, how do you see this one go?
Yeah, I think Australia will win. I wouldn't be steaming in at 2-on, given that they have already qualified, and New Zealand are a dangerous side. I just feel I mean they were pretty fortunate against South Africa actually, and then needed an absolute masterclass from Kane Williamson, who has been holding that batting together a bit. Liam's mentioned the struggles of the openers. Colin Munro just looks out of his depth against really top class new ball bowling, and so I think Williamson's the solid favourite to be top run scorer. One bet I do like the look of is Jimmy Neesham to score over 21.5 runs. He's one of New Zealand's all rounders who have had big roles to play with the bat really, because the openers haven't been giving them solid starts. So Neesham and Colin de Grandhomme have been important players for them.
Opportunity then to.
Yeah, and Neesham's been bowling well. That always gives an all-rounder a bit of confidence. And so his runs line's 21.5. His 4 innings in this tournament have been 25, 23, 28, and then an excellent 97 not out against Pakistan last time out, when he did have to bail them out after a poor start. So I expect him to come in and give a few lusty blows towards the end of the innings. But Australia just look so much better balanced now than they did at the start of the tournament. Thought bringing Nathan Lyon in just provided that control which Adam Zampa wasn't able to give. Marcus Stoinis is fit again. He's another all-rounder who kind of balances the side. And we mentioned earlier that they're into 15-8 joint favourites with India. And just to put that in perspective, they started 2019 as kind of 6-1 shots. And they were, this was before Warner and Smith had obviously been reintegrated, and they had been struggling. They lost 9 out of 10 games to England last year. But yeah, they're really kind of built up a head of steam coming into this tournament. I think they were 7-2 at the off, and yeah, they just seem to be getting stronger and stronger.
At the right time, aren't
they? They are. It's frustrating, but that's the Australian way.
Or an emotional perspective.
No, they are impressive, and I think particularly Finch as captain. The responsibility doesn't seem to weigh heavily on him. He just keeps churning out those runs, and he's been really impressive.
It does help when you've got some good batsmen to play with.
Yeah,
it'd be amazing.
A good bowling attack.
You think of how far Australian cricket fell so quickly after the tampering row, that if they were to end up winning the World Cup, I mean, it's, back in Australia, the love for cricket really decreased. You've hardly seen many Australian fans in any of the grounds of their games. It's as if they really have sort of been
fell out of love with it.
Yeah, and yet they could suddenly lift the World Cup, and it might be the fillip that Australian cricket needs.
Don't bode well for England in the Ashes either.
Well, no, certainly wouldn't. That's
the last thing they need.
Then I think they're great, but then sets up for an amazing Ashes.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Okay,
so some handy selections there. Hopefully, and the big one on Sunday. We've touched upon England against India at Edgbaston. 10:30 start. It should be a cracker, shouldn't it, James?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I think it just looks like such an awkward fixture for England. at Edgbaston. It's going to be a huge Indian fan base, as Simon mentioned. And the last game at Edgbaston, actually, the pitch really helped the spinners. I think it's going to be a fresh deck for this game, and England will be hoping for something a little bit flatter, because India's spinners could cause real problems here. I mean, England won their one-day series against India last year 2-1. A couple of Joe Root centuries. They got skittled by the spinners in the first game of that series, though. And I like the look of the even money about India leg spinner Yuzvendra Chahal taking 2 or more wickets. I just think he's been excellent throughout the tournament. He's just a proper attacking threat, taken 10 wickets already in the tournament. And you know, I just think he can get at that England middle order, who we've seen feeling the pressure. You know, he's been doing the kind of job that England were hoping Adil Rashid would do. And Rashid was in fantastic form coming into the tournament. He's not been at his best. He's got this nagging shoulder injury. But yeah, I think Chahal could win the battle of the leg spinners in this game.
Can you just give us a breakdown of the prices, please, Simon?
Yes, I mean, it's a knife-edge stuff, really. Even money England, 4-5 India, which I suppose gives us hope. I mean, that just reminds us that actually there isn't, in theory, that much between these two very good one-day international sides. Joe Root, the leading England batsman in the betting, 11-4 to be top run scorer ahead of Bairstow at 130. Jason Roy, if he plays, 7-2. On the Indian side, Kohli, dominant in that betting market, 2-1. He's been in brilliant form. And Sharma at 5-2. And on the bowling front, it's 5-2 Archer and 3-1 Wood to be the leading wicket takers. And 11-4 Bumrah, who's been brilliant for India as the top of that betting market. So, yeah, exciting. I mean, it'd be very interesting to see the track. I mean, it's going to be a new deck, going to have bright sunshine, you know, no clouds in the sky according to weather forecasts. Could it be one of these games where suddenly we get back to those sort of 300 plus scores? If you think both teams to score over 300 runs, that's 4-1. If one team sets a big total, chase them down, we could do with another one of those thrillers, couldn't we?
That sounds like my kind of bet. I like that. Flinny, England, as Simon says, you know, India 4-5, England even money. Do you think it's going to help them to perhaps the expectation that they're not going to do it? Do you think they can build on that? Being people, I mean, Johnny Bairstow's already been in the papers saying people don't want us to win. You know, it's almost trying to. Oh right, we've tried everything. Let's build that siege mentality. You know, it's the Mourinho thing. Everyone hates us and all that. Do you think that's the sort of mental attitude that they need to win this game, or do you think that they're just clutching at straws?
Very possibly. I mean, I think that a lot of the criticism of England has been a little bit over the top, in fairness. I mean, they're still in with a shot of making the semi-finals. It's still in their hands, as I say. That said, I do think India will win this game, but I think if I had to call how I think this will all pan out, I could see England losing to India, beating New Zealand, and then other results hopefully going their way and they make the semi-finals. But maybe that's an optimistic view. But I think, I just think this India team don't post high scores, but I mean, they've got the regardless of how the wicket is, they've got such a varied bowling attack. They can cope with pretty much anything. I mean, Bumrah is absolutely brilliant with the new ball and at the death as well. Shami has come in, and I mean, he's put the pressure on. I don't know what the situation is going to be, whether Kumar will come back in or Shami will drop out. I don't know, but he's certainly put pressure on that position. And you said, as James said, Chahal has been probably one of the best leg spinners in this tournament. He's just been absolutely terrific, and at Edgbaston as well could have a particularly good game. I mean, they bowled out Australia 316, Afghanistan 213, West Indies 143. Their bowling is their key strength for me, I have to say. And I think England may have a chance if Jason Roy comes in, and as you say, the fact that there's perhaps not so much expectation on them, which has caused cracks to show beforehand, that could maybe work in their favour, but I do worry about them on this pitch, and I think at that price India are probably worth going for. Another bet maybe would be in the top India run scorer market. I think Sharma just looks quite a good price generally. I mean, he scored 338 runs in this tournament. He's fallen off the pace a touch recently, but I mean, he's just a terrific opener, and he likes batting at Edgbaston. He scored an unbeaten 123 against Bangladesh there in the 2017 Champions Trophy. So they would be the bets I'd be looking at for this one.
Okay, that's great. We're off for a quick break now, and then we'll look at Sri Lanka against the West Indies, and then the lads will give us their best bet for this set of fixtures.
Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.
Hello and welcome back to the Cricket World Cup show. This is part 3, and I'm Ian Wilkinson. I'm joined by my Racing Post colleagues Liam Flynn and James Milton, and our friend Simon Clare from Coral. Now we've got one more game to look at. Monday's clash between Sri Lanka and the West Indies. It's a little bit early to be looking at this because as we speak, it's Friday and Sri Lanka are in action against South Africa. But hopefully we'll be able to give you a guide of what might be happening at the Riverside. So Simon, can you just give us a little breakdown and perhaps a few early indications what the prices might be?
Yeah, the price where they sit now would be around sort of 2s on West Indies, 8-5 Sri Lanka. There's obviously a few firms up for it. As soon as the game finishes today, the match price will come out, and clearly the game today will have an impact on and how those prices. But I just think it's quite interesting that the way they look at it now, they're making West Indies odds on favourite when just the last couple of games you just feel West Indies maybe have gone off the boil, and look, clearly if Sri Lanka were to win today, I think that price has shortened dramatically. But they've having been disappointing early on in the tournament, they put up some decent performances the last couple of games.
Beating England.
Well, yes, we had to mention that, didn't we? Yeah.
Well, whether they beat England or England beat themselves, is another question. James, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, I mean, the West Indies have been really disappointing after a spectacular start when they thrashed Pakistan and then had Australia in all sorts of trouble and then ended up losing that game. And they've produced so many really good individual performances, but they've never quite in the last kind of 4 or 5 games been able to put it all together. And you look at kind of Carlos Brathwaite's century against New Zealand when they finished up 5 runs short. You've seen some lovely innings from Hetmeyer and Pooran, but not quite match-defining innings. And Sheldon Cottrell's been terrific with the new ball. I think him and Roach will cause Sri Lanka problems. I certainly wouldn't be getting stuck into the Windies at 2s on. Whatever the context of this game, even if Sri Lanka can't go through. But I think the West Indies will take early wickets. So I'd maybe be looking at Angelo Matthews' price for top run scorer. Batted really well in that game against England. Made 80 odd when virtually every other batsman struggled. And such an experienced player, so I think he might be needed to do a bit of a rescue act after the West Indies new ball pair do some damage.
So you'll be keeping an eye on the markets with regard to Matthews once we're a little bit further down the line.
Yeah.
What other individuals are you looking for to shine in this game then, Liam?
Well, James already mentioned, but Sheldon Cottrell, I think maybe wait for the prices, but he might be one for top Windies wicket taker. I mean, obviously probably got the award for the best celebration in the tournament. I think he's quite a safe bet to take the most wickets. He leads the wicket taking standard for the West Indies with 11 scouts. He's an excellent new ball bowler. Dismissed both Guptill and Munro for Golden Ducks against New Zealand before removing Kane Williamson, albeit for a pretty big score. But and was on the way to figures of 4 for 56 in that match. So, and I think he could have a bit of a field day against a very poor Sri Lanka top order generally. So yeah, I think he's one to keep an eye on.
Okay, so it should be that could prove to be an entertaining encounter. It could prove to be a bit of a damp squib. We'll just have to wait a little bit further down the line towards the weekend, and then we'll know what's going on. So, gentlemen, just to round off, there's 4 games that we've had. Plenty of good information from you and plenty of good tips as well. I'll just go through the naps. So, Simon, what's your best bet?
Well, I was tempted to say India at 4-5 as a kind of emotional hedge, because I feel like on form that's a generous price in India, and maybe factoring in the fact that we're in England and the England short. So, and if you back India and England lose and are knocked out the last 4, at least you've made a few quid. So I'll probably do that. That's not my tip. My tip will be a batsman I've been really impressed with. I think he's scored double figures or 20 plus runs every time he's batted. Babar Azam for Pakistan is a lovely batsman. I think he'll top score against Afghanistan, and Pakistan will win the match. And the win cast of him to top score, Pakistan to win 7-2.
7-2, lovely. James?
I didn't mention this earlier when we were doing England-India, just building up the suspense. But, Coral goes 6-4, MS Dhoni to hit a 6. Now, he has been around a while, and we've seen him hit quite a few sixes. This bet would have copped in 7 of his 13 ODIs this year. He hit 7 maximums in a warm-up century against Bangladesh. Cleared the ropes twice against the West Indies last time out. And I think if he comes in at round about number 5 or something, he's generally got licence to tee off. So 6-4, MS Dhoni to hit a 6.
6-4, and Liam.
And I'm going for obviously one of the best bowlers in this tournament, Mohammad Amir, top Pakistan wicket taker against Afghanistan. Okay,
so that's I'll just reiterate those. Liam's gone for Mohammad Amir to be top Pakistan wicket taker against Afghanistan at 5-2. James has gone for MS Dhoni to hit a 6 for India against England at Edgbaston on Sunday at 6-4. Simon's gone for Babar Azam to be top Pakistan run scorer and Pakistan to beat Afghanistan at 7-2. And although I would never really class myself as a cricket expert, I do like the sound of Coral's special about India and England scoring over 300 at 4-1. So if you want an interest in what should be a cracking game, you know, a few shekels, don't go mad. That would be, that could be a decent bet. So, gentlemen, that's it. We'll be back again on Monday. Gosh, you know, they're just rattling along these podcasts, aren't they? Yeah, we just can't get enough of them. I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank Simon. Thanks for coming in. Thanks, James. Thanks, Liam. So, yeah, there'll be another one on Monday. Please make sure to tune in. Thanks very much.
Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.